Navigator is a concept. We've done a great deal of research over the past several years as PMI was looking to go through its digital transformation. And quite often we saw a similar theme continuing to come to the top about individuals looking for career guidance, especially those who are new to project management or might potentially be considering project management and not really knowing where to start. And that is one of the primary purposes of Navigator. So let me go ahead and get into it with you. So just to give you a bit of an understanding of how PMI is approaching developing new products, our first point is to really understand our customers and what their needs are and what their pain points are as they go through their day-to-day jobs and as they're performing a role of a project manager, or perhaps they're not even in a formal role of a project manager, but are finding themselves managing some projects because they're very well organized. They have certain skill set that that leads them to managing projects quite well. So as I mentioned, over the past few years, we've done a lot of different surveys, and this pain point of I'm looking for a career, or I'm just starting out in project management and I really don't know where to start, continued to come to the top. So we identified this as a key customer need. And so what we did was we started developing a concept, and that concept continued to evolve into a prototype. And we continued to reach out to individuals. PMI undertook a segmentation model development program early on in our transformation to really understand and classify our audiences and to look at some of their characteristics. And a few of the segments, our next gens and PM pros, were really the core segments that PMI was looking to reach out to understand their needs and begin building products and solutions and different offerings for them. Throughout this process, we also opened this up to what we call our skill builders, and those are individuals that use project management skills, perhaps in their day-to-day jobs, but maybe don't necessarily consider project management their profession, like a next gen or a PM pro might, but they need project management as a marketer developing marketing campaigns. So we started testing with our prototypes and our concepts to get feedback from these individuals. And of course, you know, when we asked, would something like this be of value to you? We heard a lot of people say, yes, I would use this. I might use this daily or weekly or monthly, depending on their situation. And we continued to iterate on these concepts and eventually developing a prototype where we got the opportunity to really watch what they did to get at their do behavior. So we took their say data and their do data as we continued to evolve this and put it together, which gave us confidence to continue to build out an MVP of Navigator. So we started that process and we launched our minimum viable product in May of last year. And we had just a few hundred people that we invited into the experience to give us feedback, to tell us what was working, what would be helpful, what is helpful, or what they wouldn't even use from a features and functionality standpoint. And we captured that information through one-on-one direct interviews, as well as surveys, engagement at PMI's events to collect all of this data. And we took that research and we continued to build out additional features and functionality enhancements that we launched with our beta version of Navigator, which launched earlier this year in February. And Navigator is currently out in the market in its beta version. We continue to invite people into the experience via email, but we're actually going to be opening up those doors a little wider, and I'll speak to that a little bit later in this presentation. But that just gives you an idea of PMI's product development approach and how we're building new products as you continue to hear more about new offerings coming from PMI. So, specific to Navigator, what is Navigator? It's a career development platform that we see there's a strong leaning to those early career project professionals or those considering a career in project management who are looking to get that advice or that guidance on what are the next steps they should take in their career. So we ask them to build out a comprehensive career profile where we ask them about their skills, about their interests, and specific goals that they'd like to achieve, more on the short-term end of things. We found out as we talk to a lot of our users, they're not looking necessarily to plan 3 and 5 years out. They're trying to understand what they can do as their immediate next steps to make progress in their goals in the short term, anywhere from 6 to 12 months. So based on what we collect from them as they build out this career profile, we take that information and we serve up what we believe are goals they would be interested in pursuing. They take those suggested goals and prioritize their top 3. And based on those 3 goals, their career goals, we provide them a specific action plan that gives them specific recommendations to make progress towards their goals, which ultimately helps them grow their skills, increase their knowledge, and make progress towards their goals. We really saw this as an opportunity for 2 purposes. For our customers to be able to give them next steps in looking at them through the lens of their career journey and what would be relevant and valuable to them as they make progress. But also, as many of you may be familiar, when you look at PMI.org, we have a lot of resources and content and programs out there, and it's a little difficult to navigate those and understand where to go and what would be relevant to you at your particular time in your journey. So we see Navigator as being the portal that serves up PMI's products and services and content and resources in that relevant way to these individuals as they're progressing. You'll see the URL down at the bottom of the slide, and you are more than welcome to share that with your members and stakeholders, and we'll talk more about that as we move forward. So just to give you a little bit more of around the value proposition, I already talked about our target audiences and what they want to do and how they do it. And as we continue to learn from our users who are engaged in the platform, we're seeing the benefits evolve. And that is an opportunity to really identify gaps in a person's experience or skill set or knowledge set, and also show them opportunities to explore potential career options. And that really is a little bit further down the road in our product roadmap as we continue to evolve Navigator. But we eventually, as we're collecting this data, as these individuals build out their profiles, we're going to be able to get to a point where an individual who might have 5 years of experience in project management in the energy industry, to be able to show them potential career paths that they may want to pursue or never even thought of pursuing because they didn't realize a career path like that existed. And we've heard from a lot of the individuals that they want their hands to be held as they go through this journey, and they really want to know what their immediate next steps are. So that's why we're providing this step-by-step action plan. And we've heard from folks that they haven't found a product or an offering out there like this, or if they have come across it in different industries, it hasn't been specific to project management. So that is one of our big differentiators. But in addition, as I mentioned, we're collecting so much data on individuals that the recommendations are data driven, and it's based on what we know about our users. It's going to eventually offer an exploratory experience in looking at potential career paths. The actions in the action plan are meant to be specifically tailored to their needs and where they are in their specific point in their career journey. And the recommendations that we provide, they're action oriented, they're just not theoretical. A few things I want to call out because we get these questions often is that Navigator in its current format and future format will be available at no charge for individuals to use. And that is for everyone. So that is for members, non-members, certification holders, people considering project management as a profession. It's available to everyone. What I will say, and you'll see this, I'll demonstrate this a little bit later, there are recommendations in the action plan because we are encouraging people to take certain steps, and we're pointing them to certain resources that may have a cost associated with them. So Navigator is free. I would say most of the content and action recommendations, about 60% of it is pointing to free resources and content, but it's curated and quality content. But the other 30 to 40% may have a cost associated with it. So now I'm going to walk you through the actual product via screenshots because it's a little bit easier, because sometimes we have work going on a daily basis in the application, and sometimes for the purposes of demonstration, it might be a bit slow. So users would go to the URL that I had on the earlier slide and come to this landing page. If they are already a PMI registered user, if they have a user account and they've already registered on PMI.org, they can log in from here. If they don't, they'll have the opportunity to register and go through PMI's registration process, and then they will be taken into Navigator. This is the main landing page. This is the top part. If someone were to scroll further down, we talk a bit more about what they're going to get out of Navigator, what they should expect as they go through the experience. This is the registration page, as I mentioned. If someone, again, has already registered on PMI.org and has an account, they will short circuit the overall registration process. We do ask a few additional questions to give us more guidance in providing specifics in their action plan. Now they'll come to their the main part of Navigator where they start. And across the top, you'll be able to see that there are 6 different sections to Navigator. So specific questions we're asking about their skills, their certifications, their career aspirations, experiences that they already have, work style and professional development preferences, and then a place to prioritize their goals. You can see with these 6 circles on the left, those circles, they highlight and they rotate, and they correlate to each of these sections listed at the top. So we tell the individuals a little single sentence description of what the section is about, and we tell them how long the section is going to take to complete. In this case, we're highlighting the experiences section, and that it can take anywhere from 2 to 10 minutes to complete. I will tell you this is actually the longest section of the career profile. So people tend to get through it fairly quickly. It takes about, we're hearing on average, about 15 to 20 minutes to complete. For those who are brand new and just starting out, the message would say, "Welcome, Karen. Are you ready to get started?" And they would continue through. In this case, Karen has already started going through the career assessment piece, but she had stopped and now she's coming back. So we tell her it's great to see you again and that she's 11% complete through the assessment. Right in the beginning, we ask them about their top skills development goals, and we ask the individuals to select up to 2 goals. These will be goals that will be shown at the end that they will have the opportunity to prioritize. We save those and continue them through. The next several screenshots you'll see are based around PMI's talent triangle. And we ask them about specific skills that they would like to hone as they move forward in their careers. So here, this is the main heading is strategic and business skills. And we're asking them the types of skills that they would be interested in either learning more about or honing. They can choose as many or as few as they would like. Then below that, we're asking them to give us an idea of what they believe their competency level is. Is it something completely new to them, this area? Or might they have some experience, or maybe they might even consider themselves an expert? So we ask this question throughout. You can see here we have strategic and business. The next screen applies to leadership. Project management expertise, so this would be the technical side of the PMI talent triangle. Core professional skills, or more so, if perhaps you might have heard our CEO talk about the power skills, the soft skills. We ask them about Agile. And based on all of that, as a bit of a summary from this section, we're asking them, would they like more content or more resources around specific areas? And they can use the little slider bar. Once they've completed this, they can finish their skill set. Now we go into the certification section. We ask them if there are certain ones they're interested in pursuing, if they need some help in identifying the right ones, or perhaps at this point, they're just not interested in certification. We ask them which skills they hold and which ones they're considering pursuing. So as I mentioned, I just want to pause here for a quick moment. Because Navigator has been developed quite quickly and we're still testing the platform. PMI, we built this on a WordPress platform, so it's not integrated into PMI's current systems. Because we've gotten a lot of questions and suggestions that as a user, it would be really great that if this was linked to my profile on pmi.org, where you would already know that I hold a PMP certification or a CAPM certification so that you don't have to ask me again. And this is one of the iterations and feature improvements we plan for coming up in the very near future with Navigator. But because we're not on PMI's platforms currently and it's built off platform, some of these questions are being asked again. But knowing that in the future, we'll be able to pull information from an individual's profile, that will allow us to actually even shorten this career profile assessment, because for those who have already engaged with us at PMI, we'll know some information about them. Now, for individuals who are brand new to PMI, we would still ask these questions. We ask them about their motivation, and then complete the certification section. As we get into their careers, we're asking if they're interested in making a move, if they're happy in their current role and aren't interested, or perhaps they're thinking about other things they could potentially accomplish in their current role. We're asking them if they are interested in a change, what's motivating them. If they chose that they're not interested in a change, they would not be advanced to this particular screen. We're asking them if they're interested in looking in their current industry or outside their industry, or if they're open to all possibilities. We ask them about their next reachable roles that they might be interested in, as well as aspirational roles, which might be a little bit further down the career path for them. We ask them about some of their work style preferences. Do they prefer more structured organization or something flatter? Are they interested in a more standard workday or flexibility? If they like handling details or if they're more strategic. And this information all plays into a simple algorithm that we have on the back end that helps with the recommendations. Now that we've finished career, we're moving into the experiences section. Here is a timeline where we ask individuals to provide us with information on work experience, education, and certification. So I've talked about this opportunity. Perhaps again, if this were integrated into PMI systems, we'd be able to pull this information from an individual's PMI profile. In addition, there's also opportunities to connect and import information in for perhaps something like LinkedIn, where people have information on their career profiles there as well. So our individual here has input a certification, their degree, and their current title. Now we've finished that experiences section, and now we're asking them about their professional development preferences. Are they able to set aside a specific allocation of time to focus on professional development, or do they prefer it sprinkled throughout their work experience? And if they're interested, if they have to do it on their own time, or if they can do it during their normal workday. Here we ask some additional preferences, and we have 3 main categories: learn, do, and engage, with subcategories underneath it. Based on what their choices are, this allows us to serve up specific content and recommendations based on these types of formats. So for those interested in learning and are interested in things to watch, we may have the opportunity to serve up videos and more videos as opposed to podcasts or articles. If they really like to do different things, like perhaps they're interested in volunteering, we'll want to be able to serve up those types of opportunities, and so on. Now we're coming to the last part of the career profile and assessment. On the left-hand side, we have a list of goals that we recommend, that Navigator recommends for them. And based on these, they will take their top 3 and drag and drop them over to the right-hand side. And these will be the 3 goals that they will work on moving forward. Once they submit, we work on their results, and they get a summary results page. So this summary results page is showing 2 of the 3, just because the third one is further down at the bottom, but they can see that get a CAPM is their first goal, and their second one is to enter project management. We also provide a little avatar at the top, giving them a summary of where they might be in their career. And in this particular instance, this person is an aspiring practitioner who is just getting into the world of project management and learning the language and trying to understand what opportunities might be available to them. From here, they will click on their action plan. And you will see at the top the individual's username. At one point, we were offering a free trial, but since then we've opened that up, so this language is no longer there. But across here, next to the blue box that says Navigator Recommendation Engine, are their 3 goals: entering project management, getting a CAPM, and advancing in their career path. The next section down below talks about their next steps, and those next steps are the very first action recommendation from each of their goals. And you can see that one is a learn, one is a do, and the other is a do. And each recommendation or action step, we tell them which category it applies to, a learn, do, or engage, and we tell them how long it's going to take to complete that specific action. In addition, up at the top, there's a summary. So it takes the total amount of actions in all 3 goals. So in this case, there are 41 actions in all 3 goals. And this counter continues to go up as they complete each specific action. When an individual clicks on the specific goal, in this case, enter project management, Underneath it, it opens up in an accordion style listing of each of the specific actions. Or excuse me, my apologies. It opens up into the specific sub goals under each primary goal. And then within each sub goal, we tell the individual how many recommendations there are. So in this case, the fundamental topics and terms, there are 7 recommendations. We tell them how many they've completed and how many they have hidden. Each action item can be viewed and the individual can determine whether or not they're going to pursue that action, or if it's not something they want to do right now and they can hide the particular action. When they do click on a specific action, so in this case, this particular one is to watch an introductory video on PM Edge for topics overview. It is in the Learn category, and it's going to take them 6 minutes to complete. If they're still not sure, they can go over to the right-hand side and click on the I for information. And what that does is essentially flip that action around, and here they get a description on what that action means and why it matters. So in this case, we're recommending that they watch an introductory video on PM Edge, and we tell them that PM Edge is a free platform where they can learn basics across topics like Agile, meetings, stakeholders, and risks. And from here, they can click directly to view the content. Or if they thought it was intriguing enough to begin with, they can click it directly from the action item. Down below is an additional example of another action that might have a cost associated with it. As I mentioned, there are a smattering of actions, many which are free, but some that do have an associated cost. For those that have an associated cost, there's a little $sign alerting them to this, and that they're aware that this does have a cost associated with it. Not all of our action recommendations are all PMI products, services, and content. Navigator does point to external credible resources as well, like other publications and tools. Some examples might be certain well-known publications and research articles from credible organizations such as The Economist or the World Economic Forum or CIO Magazine or perhaps Harvard Business Review. And we heard from a lot of our users that they found that that actually makes Navigator more credible, that it isn't just all about PMI, but that we're willing to point to external opportunities that are going to help these individuals where they currently are. So that is the high-level overview of Navigator. And what I'd like to share with you just quickly before we get into some questions are some next steps and a call to action. So as you might have seen as we've gone through some of the screenshots, Navigator hasn't been brought up to PMI's brand standards, so we're working on doing that now. So we'll be updating that so that it is in PMI brand come June. And what we're really excited about is that PMI will be launching soon in the June timeframe a new welcome campaign. And this welcome campaign will be shared with individuals who register with PMI for the first time. So we get new registered users on a monthly basis. And what we want to do is to be able to welcome these individuals, thank them for engaging with PMI, and immediately start providing them with some resources. And Navigator is going to be part of that campaign. So we're very excited about that. There'll be more to come on that. In addition, as I mentioned, we're in our beta version of Navigator, and it's out there so that as individuals and users come in and they're engaging with the content and Navigator, the experience, that we're continuing to do user research to validate that the features are the features individuals want and the functionality works the way they expect it to. And we continue to do this through one-on-one interviews and surveys is just some of our tactics. We're taking all the learnings from beta and we're building out our backlog for integration into PMI.org. And that will be coming a bit later in this year. We're working to build out our backlog and our timeline, but you will start to see Navigator as part of the experience on PMI.org and specifically my PMI area come Q4 of this year. My request to you is that you be willing to share Navigator with your membership and newsletters and communications and amongst yourselves. We're very, very interested in getting feedback to understand how this is or is not working so that we can build a better product. And as I mentioned, we're going to continue through multiple tactics of surveys and one-on-one interviews. And some of the questions we're looking at are if the goals are valuable and the actions are appropriate, and the interaction with the tool, the ease of use, and when they would be using a tool like this. So those are our next steps and some of the questions we're looking to answer. We're really excited. We continue to get positive feedback on Navigator, that the value proposition is resonating and that it is a helpful tool in helping individuals begin navigating their career. That is my contact information, along with my colleague, who's the product owner, Kevin. We are a team supporting Navigator, and you are welcome to reach out to us at any time. So I'd love to open this up for any questions.
Right. Thank you, Carrie, for the presentations and the great insights. And we're looking forward, actually, even as a staff member, to go through this Navigator platform. So basically, we do have a couple of questions from our chapters. I see actually 2 questions from South Africa. So Dr. Lynn said, our chapter has a mentorship program. I see Navigator as a good resource to include with our mentors. Any suggestions on how chapters can integrate with mentoring?
That's an excellent question, and we've heard that a lot. So I think there's 2 opportunities right now. One is twofold. So knowing that we know a lot of our chapters do offer mentoring programs, and this is where when we integrate Navigator into PMI.org and we understand where our individuals are located, through Navigator, one, we're going to be able to point them specifically to their local chapter based on what we know from their location. And we'll be able to highlight the fact that this chapter has a mentoring program that you may want to engage with. And so there's an opportunity for Navigator to both cross-promote the local chapter as well as the offerings that the chapter has. From an individual standpoint, what I would suggest is that maybe you encourage your members to go through Navigator to understand which goals they're interested in. Right now, there isn't the opportunity to print out the action plan, and that's something we're looking at on a feature roadmap moving forward. But if an individual goes through Navigator and they now know which 3 goals they're prioritizing, that's an opportunity for them to say, here are the 3 goals I'm interested in, and this is what I'd like to do, and to work with their mentor within the chapter on how to potentially progress towards those goals. So Navigator will make specific action or recommendation actions that they could take, and they could talk about that with their mentors. So there's not a way for the mentor to get an actual view into the individual's action plan. And at the moment, that's by design because the individual may not be comfortable. But I would encourage you to tell the individual to let them know or let their mentor know what are their goals they're looking at pursuing. Here are the actions that are being recommended, and then the mentor can tailor their responses on additional guidance.
Perfect, great, thanks. Other questions from Dr. Lin South Africa say, does Navigator link the individuals to reps, registered education providers in their countries?
So yes, again, it's a little broad right at this moment, but similar to how we'll be able to recommend the local chapters, we'll be able to recommend the local REPs as well. So in most of our goals, we do have that recommendation to reach out to their local registered education provider. We currently point them to the directory and tell them to search by their geographic location. But future state, again, especially once Navigator is more integrated with PMI's platforms, we'll be able to point them to specific REPs to take a preparation class or other types of offerings.
Thanks. There's another question from Francois said, are people not member of PMI being user of this platform?
So yes, we started out with when we segmented our database and went through that exercise, we reached out to next gen project managers and PM professional project managers. And all of those individuals are registered users. So they may be members, they may not be. They may be certification holders, they may not be. So our outreach has been to those who have registered an account on PMI.org. What we do hope to do is to, through marketing, is to expand our reach even beyond the PMI ecosystem. So we know that there are a lot of individuals in the world that are managing projects or a part of project teams that may not be affiliated with PMI. And that is one of our goals, is to be able to, in addition to supporting those that are engaged with PMI and our membership and certification holders, is to get beyond the PMI ecosystem so that we can bring new individuals into PMI who could eventually become members and certification holders. So that is a plan that we're looking at through marketing. And again, as chapter leaders, if you have access to individuals who might not be a member of your chapter or PMI member in general, you're more than welcome to share this amongst your networks.
Perfect. I think you, during the presentations, you highlighted on these questions, but Francois also has two questions. Is our access to the platform Navigator linked to our account of PMI? And then he said, like, if we did not renew our membership at the time, we still have access to the platform?
So the answer is, okay, so I'm going to answer the second one. Even if you are not a PMI member, you still have access to the Navigator platform. You can go into the link. As I mentioned, you need to be a registered user. So if an individual is a former member but has not renewed their membership, you already have a PMI username and password that you can use to log in. And for individuals that aren't members, that are not certification holders, they can register on PMI.org and get access to Navigator. As far, my apologies, I forgot the other question.
Yeah, I think it's linked to your answer when he said, is our access to the platform linked to our account of PMI? Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So it is, access is based on being a registered user on PMI.org. That is how they can access it. So the more broader profile information. So we have some individuals that are members or certification holders, and there's information we know about them in their profile. That information has not been integrated into Navigator yet. So I wanted to reiterate that point. But as long as an individual has a registered account, a username and password on PMI.org, they do not have to be a member, they do not have to be a certification holder, they can access Navigator.
Great, thanks, Carrie, once again, and for the great questions. I'm just actually looking at the chat as well, and I see another question from Maurice. He said, "I noticed a kink." I think I noticed a link. Sorry, I noticed a link of collision between Navigator and projectmanagement.com. So it's asking if PMI considering integration of these two platforms. Otherwise, what is the rationale of keeping these two platforms?
Excellent question. So right now, we are at PMI, we are undertaking an exercise to integrate projectmanagement.com, the community, into PMI.org. So that is being worked on as we speak. Because I know there is a lot of confusion too between PMI.org versus PMI.com, and they are not very well integrated at this point. So that is happening, and PMI will continue to evolve that integration. So where Navigator fits in that is that for those of you who might be familiar, if you go to My PMI, which is where your profile information currently resides, that's where we see Navigator becoming an aspect of the My PMI profile area. So right now, it tells you My PMI shows you if you're a member, your member number, what chapter you're part of, your certifications that you hold, your certification status, and how to access PMI's various knowledge resources as a member. So we see another module being built out within My PMI that would be Navigator, an aspect of that, so that the action plan would almost be embedded in that area. So individuals would know what goals they're working on, where their progress is in their goals, and maybe perhaps what their next actions recommendation is. So that is what we're working towards by the end of this year. Navigator won't be fully built out, but at least an MVP version of it within PMI.org in the My PMI profile. So essentially, the community, projectmanagement.com, PMI.org, and Navigator will all be integrated in a seamless experience through PMI.org. I hope that answers the question.
Great, thank you. Actually, we are just looking at the chat box and also the Q&A section. So I think this is a great opportunity for you to ask any questions, since we do have Carrie in front of us right now. Maybe while we are waiting for the questions from the participants, I may have a question, Carrie, if possible. So do you think in the near future the Navigator platform will be presented or have it in different languages? I'm saying because we do have actually a Francophone chapters, French-speaking chapters in Africa, and as well as the Portuguese. So do you think there is a plan to have not only the English as the main for Navigator platform?
Excellent question. And the answer to that is yes. So where we really want to get to, we almost see, so Navigator's been presented almost like its own standalone product right now, and that was done on purpose so that we could learn and understand how we build this out. But where we really see Navigator going is almost becoming the engine, the backbone of PMI.org, and how we make specific tailored recommendations for those individuals on what they should be doing next. And part of that personalization, we've been using the term hyper-personalization. So beyond just recognizing that it's Francois who is logged into PMI.org, but saying, Francois, we know you're part of this chapter and you're located in this specific region and working in this industry, and perhaps your primary language is French, that we would be able to serve up content specific to your geographic region, to your industry, and in your local language. So that, yes, is definitely part of the evolution of Navigator moving forward. So it almost becomes your experience when you come to PMI and log into your MyPMO profile. It becomes your dashboard, and we can be very personalized in knowing who you are, where you've been, and where you're going, so that we can make the appropriate recommendations in local language.
Great news. Thank you, Carrie, once again. So I'm looking at the Q&A section, don't see any new questions. So maybe we can pause for 30 seconds, see if the audience have any questions about Navigator platform that we can get an answer from Carrie. Great. So we have a question from Lynn. What could the experienced project manager expect from Navigator?
So that's a great question. With a lot of our users and what we've been learning, we've found the more experienced project manager, we've heard a lot of feedback such as, wow, I would have really loved to have had something like this earlier on in my career. But to make this relevant for the more experienced project management professional, I see a few things. We're going to be looking at more executive level type content that we might potentially serve up as a goal. Perhaps it's someone who's looking to move up to the level of, say, a project or program management office leader, or an executive, maybe even moving towards the chief strategy office, but more leaning towards the executive paths. So we would look to serve up potential master classes and those types of resources. In addition, we find that there are a lot of seasoned professionals who are interested in giving back to the community. So how do we serve up those options like mentoring, but offering the opportunity to become a mentor? Or perhaps there's chapter leadership, right? We know our chapters have challenges, struggling to have a pipeline of incoming leaders who might take the chapter to the next level. So there's opportunities like that we could potentially serve up as goals and action recommendations through Navigator for the more seasoned individual to continue to evolve in their career. Those are just a few examples, but there are many more out there.
Perfect. It seems actually the Navigator platform will get evolved in the next few months or weeks. So basically, it's going to be more of useful for the project managers, professionals, and also volunteers as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I don't see more questions in the chat box. So basically, with that note, would like first to thank actually Carrie for the straightforward presentation and the slides, and for answering all the questions, and also for the audience participants for these great questions. As next step, actually, we will make sure to share with you the slides, and also we'll share with you the recording, and we really hope that you can share the slides and the recording with those rest of the chapter leaders and volunteers who could not attend this session. And wish you a great day. With that note, I will say, like, stay tuned for the next webinars, and we will give you the information in due course. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.